Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of this show where Tom and I talk absolute rubbish about watches. And we're going to try our very hardest to do the same today, and we've got a great topic to do it with because Omega has just released a Speedmaster, yep, that sounds pretty normal, for $81,000. Tom, initial reactions to spending $81,000 on a Speedmaster?
I always thought, I'm not sure if this is true anymore, but I always thought the Omega Speedmaster was the last bastion of great brand recognition that you could get quite affordably. I thought that was your way in. Like you could get this watch offers you so much for the price. The moon, it gives you the moon, and it was still reasonably attainable. I'm not sure how true that is now, so I don't know what they're playing at with this. They're blowing all that out of the water.
Well, at the risk of sounding like a cantankerous old man talking about how things were better in the old days, yeah, I feel like very recently the Speedmaster was a watch that you could go to a jeweller on the high street and spend £3,000 for and get an absolutely epic watch. I definitely think that's changed.
Has it?
Speedmasters are getting too expensive, mobile phones are getting too big, cars are too fast. I want it how it was in the old days.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the entry-level Speedmaster Moonwatch now is a £5,000+ watch. If you want it with sapphire, £6,000. Still a hell of a lot cheaper than a Daytona. But certainly nowhere in the regions of the £2,000 to £3,000 that you could originally buy a handbound one for. And no better way is there to demonstrate that change of brand perception, I suppose, than with this latest £81,000 Omega Speedmaster. This is no ordinary Speedmaster, it has to be said. This is the 321 Canopus Gold. That wasn't me counting down. That's the caliber, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't recognise those last two digits. 321 Canopus Go, did you say?
Well, whatever it is, Canopus has gone after the countdown and is long gone into the distance.
On your marks, Canopus Gold.
They have thrown everything at this watch. And I think maybe what's best to do is to break it down piece by piece and get your reaction on it, Tom.
Yeah, so like you say, this isn't a usual Speedmaster. This isn't going to, I don't think this is supposed to sort of slide in next to all the other kind of variations of the model. But so why has it got this price tag? The first thing that strikes me is the oldie worldy Omega logo badge at 12 that looks like the silhouette of a head of a lady from the 60s.
Yeah, you can imagine it in one of those clear plastic bubbles, can't you, getting blow dried?
Exactly right. Yeah, so I mean, how much is that putting on the price tag? Do people covet that old style logo? I mean, I guess maybe they do for the genuine article, but reissues, does it mean anything much?
Well, yeah, this is a reissue of the 1957 original, so you know what the Moonwatch looks like. The hands are different, the case is different, it generally has a different vibe, the bezel is different. This was how it was before the interaction with NASA dictated some improvements to make it better for use in space. So this is how it was when it very first came out in 1957, including very small details that some people go bananas for, like having the dot on the bezel over the number 90.
What's that all about? Like, where else does the dot go? Where else is the dot supposed to go, Andrew?
Next to it? I don't know. There was a...
But then, what about if you rotated the 90 just ever so slightly anti-clockwise, and then it would sit nicely? But then people complain about that, wouldn't they?
There would definitely be all-out war if you did that. This is one of those things that is very much in the collector sphere of intricate details that 98% of the rest of the population will never ever notice.
Yeah.
But they like it. It's no harm, is it? It's just a bit of fun moving the dot back to where it was. But imagine being the guy who did the redesign and thought, do you know what? I think it looks a little bit better next to it rather than above it. It's a bit clearer if I put it next to it. And then getting decades of hate because you moved a dot by less than a millimetre.
I don't know why people are bothered about the dot over the 90. It's the dot over the E in tachymeter that bugs me.
I think that's an accent.
Yeah, it looks like a mistake.
It does look like a little paint splat, doesn't it?
Yeah, but what are you supposed to do?
It has all of that stuff. It has all of the 1957 loveliness, like the applied logo that you mentioned in the old style. But none of that is new. Reissues have been done before, and for a lot less. So that's not what makes this watch expensive.
No, I mean it looks very nice. It's very nicely blending a vintage aesthetic with a new out-of-the-box quality, isn't it? It's like mint vintage.
Absolutely.
Mintage.
That'll be $81,000 then, sir. Now, of course, there's a lot more going on here that makes it worth more than your typical 1957 original. One of those, something I'm sure you're well aware of, is Canopus Gold.
Oh yeah, you said that. What are we talking about there? What does that mean?
You've not heard of Canopus Gold?
Well, not since you said it before.
Canopus Gold. Have you heard of Sedna Gold?
I've heard of Spandau Ballet Gold. What's Sedna Gold and Canopus Gold? Tell me about all the gold.
So you've got gold. They used to do gold, right? And gold was gold.
Yeah.
The Egyptians had gold, and gold was nice.
Yeah.
But anyone can have gold. If you've got gold and they've got gold, then it's level pegging. So you need different gold. You want your own gold.
I've heard of McVitie's gold as well.
Yeah. Oh, very delicious. With Omega, they have created a few different blends of gold. So white gold isn't pure gold. It has things like rhodium in it to make it not yellow anymore. Mm-hmm. And rose gold, it has things like copper in it to make it not yellow anymore and more red. And you can have your own variation of metals, minerals in your version of gold to make it slightly different. So you'll notice that a rose gold from Rolex, what do they call it? Ever Rose Gold, looks different to a rose gold from Omega, which is Sedna Gold.
Right.
They have different hues. And they each have their own little 7 secret herbs and spices to make up their own thing. With this case, white gold, Omega has decided to go and do their own 7 secret herbs and spices for white gold as well.
Ah.
And you might think, well, what's the point? It all just looks like steel. But actually, white gold, silver, platinum, palladium, rhodium, all of these typically white precious metals have a higher reflectivity index than steel, so they appear to glow brighter. So what Omega has done here is they've gone, oh, do you know what? White gold, that's pretty bright, that reflects a lot back, looks nice and bright. So does platinum. Rhodium's quite nice too, yeah, and palladium too. Which one should we use? All of them. So they have blended them all into one metal, which they're calling Canopus Gold.
Okay, cool.
So you might be wondering why it's called Canopus Gold.
Is Canopus Latin for mix?
So you're thinking about bright metals. You're thinking of a watch very, very deeply linked with space, and you think about stars.
Right.
So you think, okay, right, this is about bright stars. So of course, Omega decided to name this gold after the second brightest star in the night sky. Not sure why they didn't pick the first. I haven't really figured that one out, but they've picked the second. Maybe it's to leave room for the next gold they can sell next year for $91,000. I don't know.
I think MVMT have got the first brightest star for one of their watches.
Yeah, already taken.
Just pipped them to that one.
Oh, damn it, North Star's taken.
Yeah.
What is the brightest star, actually? Oh, Sirius.
Ah, right.
Yeah, so that's why they've chosen to call it Canopus Gold. Canopus, platypus.
Can openers.
So, I mean, that doesn't still really answer the question. You can buy a gold Speedmaster for less than $81,000. I mean, are you sold yet on this whole Canopus Gold business?
No, not really. It looks to me like a Speedmaster. I mean...
So what I'm getting from you so far is that no, you won't buy it because the dot over 90 annoys you.
Yeah, also I don't have £70,000. But the dot thing first.
Okay, well maybe perhaps I can interest you some more in what this watch has to offer, because it does have some more on offer. That dot over 90, and in fact all the other numerals and markers on that bezel, They would typically be paint inlaid into the engraving, perhaps, and then brushed to get that nice crisp finish. And you would be forgiven for thinking the same was true here, but that is not true because they have gone to the effort of doing a Grand Fouet enamel. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, those old style engravings can get a little bit flaky, can't they? And you can lose definition. So yeah, Grand Fouet sounds great. What does that mean?
So enameling is a process where you take a paste made up of ground glass.
Right.
You take that paste and you apply it into all the areas that you want it to be in, and then you fire it in an oven. Grand Fouet, something like Grand Fire.
Right.
You fire it in an oven and it becomes hardened, and then in this case they brush back the bezel to reveal the numbers behind. So you supposedly get a much deeper, richer black that has almost a slight translucency to it that feels a bit more premium than ink.
Yeah, sure. That sounds quite time consuming and quite costly. I mean, do they do one at a time and they have to leave it overnight, or?
I don't know. I don't know how many they're planning on making of this, but they probably could do a few in a go, I would have thought. Depends how big their oven is.
Come back in the morning and whip the blanket off and it's cracked. And they get voted out. I don't know how they do things over at Omega, but it seems to be the way things are going.
If I recall, when they were making them, one watchmaker put theirs in the oven and there wasn't enough room left for the other watchmaker. So the other watchmaker took the first watchmakers out and there was a whole controversy.
Yeah.
And the BBC refused to talk about it.
Yeah. Grand Fouet Gate.
Exactly. So yeah, a very, very time consuming, as you say, but incredibly small difference that even the .over90 crowd might not notice if you didn't tell them.
Yeah. So we've got all the shiniest metals you can think of in a pot to make the case bracelet.
Yeah.
We've got some vintage stylings, and we've got some fancy enamel tachymeter numerals. So that, how much has that costing us so far? Are we up to 70,000 yet?
I'm not sure. So since we are unsure, let's go to the next step. Usually these dials are made of brass and then painted and printed.
Yeah.
The dial here is done in a much more time-consuming way. So in this case, the dial has been made from the stone onyx. And it's been made in 3 sections, because the Speedmaster dial has different raised sections, and that's very, very difficult to do with discs of onyx. So they've created a ring for the very outer layer, an engraved layer with the subdials for the middle layer,
right,
and then a raised section for the overall middle.
Yeah, there seems to be quite a decent amount of depth for the subdials as well, which is quite nice.
Yeah, and you get a really nice shine that wouldn't otherwise be apparent, and I think it's probably something that you have to see in the reels to fully appreciate. And I'm sure when they make them, they break loads of them because it looks very delicate.
Yeah, I used to have an onyx ring which broke.
An onyx ring? Was it £71,000?
No, it didn't cost that much, so it wasn't a great loss. I just found it at the bus stop.
Fair enough.
I've been dabbling in luxuries longer than you know, Andrew.
The bus stop luxury. Yeah, so I don't know if you're sold yet, but there is one last saving grace for this particular watch.
Well, that's me good. Yeah, anything else is a bonus. If you were to say £70,000 for that alone, I'd be happy with that. So yeah, anything else you can tell me about this watch is going to be cashback.
Okay, well, positive thinking. I can give you some more. It also has the caliber 321, and a bit like this watch is chucking everything at it, the caliber 321 is another example of Omega not putting all its eggs in one basket. So I don't know if you know, but the original Speedmaster had the caliber 321, which was a joint endeavour between Omega and Lemania to create an accurate, reliable and rugged hand-wound chronograph movement.
Right.
And so over time, when the Speedmaster was revisited, the movement was updated. The column wheel, which is like a quite an expensive part to make, was taken away and replaced with a cam system, and it was generally budgetified into the caliber 861, and then following on from that, the 1861.
Yeah.
Now, Omega's gone down two routes to try and appease the vintage aficionados of that 321 and people who don't want to spend as much as redeveloping a vintage movement from the ground up again costs.
Okay.
So the standard Speedmaster gets the caliber 3861, which is lovely.
Mm-hmm.
But this watch and a couple of others, it's very, very exclusive, this movement, gets the remade caliber 321.
Sure.
As it was back in the 1950s.
Yeah. Back in all its glory.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can imagine, one, this movement cost a lot to develop for such small sales.
Yeah.
And two, it's really, really ticking some boxes for people who hanker for that original movement. And so Omega are being very, very, very limited on which watches they put it in. They're not just throwing it around everywhere. So if you've got to have that movement and you want it to look like the 1957 original, this is your watch.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? My initial warm take of seeing that movement, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it really is.
One problem, I don't know if you noticed it,
yeah,
is the horrible engraving of the hippogriff or Krampus or whatever it's called over the top.
Hippogrumpus.
Why do they do that?
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's so frustrating, isn't it?
Omega and Grand Seiko seem like they're the biggest offenders for this. Like, why would you do that?
Oh, and recently Patek Philippe as well, with the Tiffany edition 5711 Nautilus.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was a bad one.
If I had $81,000 to purchase this watch, I would find a few extra $1,000 to replace the case back.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Why would anyone think that this exclusive, exquisite movement needed hiding?
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Oh, one other thing I've just noticed as well is the Omega logo seems to be slightly misaligned with the chronograph wheel.
Oh, that's so annoying.
That doesn't look right, does it?
Oh, that's so annoying. That is definitely a once you see it, you can't unsee it scenario, isn't it?
Well, let's try our best to see past the graffiti adorning the sapphire case window, and let's try and actually kind of focus on the movement, because it looks quite striking. We're talking big bucks here, so what have we got?
The caliber 321 is plated in the Sedna rose gold, which gives you that lovely contrast. Yeah,
it's very fetching. Nice pop of contrast there. One redeeming thing about the Hippo Krampus, though, is I quite like the blue jewel there that it's got for an eye.
Oh yeah.
Is that actually in the movement? Is that like a bearing or something, or is that above? Is that embedded in the crystal?
I can't tell. If it's sticking out on the crystal, isn't having that against your wrists going to be a bit like having a stone in your shoe?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that'd be horrible. But you'd probably get used to it. Sorry, I've got a £70,000 stone in my shoe. Better live with it.
It's okay. Like, everything about that watch I really like, to be honest. And then they've gone horribly wrong with the piece of glass on the back. How do you go so... 3 things they've done weird with that sapphire crystal on the back.
Yeah, it's a great shame. They just lost themselves a customer.
It's like they sat around and they said, do you think it's too perfect? It's too good. Let's ruin it.
I definitely just got an image in my head of all the watchmakers collapsing into sofas in the common room, and then it's sort of sat on the table in the middle, and one of them's just got up and been like, I've just got to do this, lads. I'm sorry, I've got to do it. And they're like, no, leave it, it's perfect. No, I've just got to do that. And he starts engraving the thing on the back.
Is this watch a victim of noodling?
Yeah. Just leave it, it's fine. I think it needs a hippocampus on the back.
Yeah.
I'm going to do one.
This is the Omega Speedmaster George Lucas edition.
Yeah, exactly.
$81,000 worth, yes or no? I will leave that to you, dear viewer and listener, to decide. It's certainly a lot of money for a watch and a lot of money for a Speedmaster, but it is a very special one and has some unique traits that you won't find anywhere else, and I think would make a rather fetching, with the small modification of the caseback rim being replaced by one that you can actually see through. being a very nice addition to a collection.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of Speedmasters that make great additions to collections, there are so many different variants of Speedmaster, and I know I have my favourite. Tom, do you have yours?
Yeah, I've got a favourite Speedmaster.
Is it silly?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, it's the Omega Speedmaster Ultraman. Do you remember this?
I do remember it, and it is a fantastic watch. I really do like it.
I think it's great. It made me want to get into Ultraman so that I felt validated in buying that watch.
Okay.
Obviously, I did neither. But it still doesn't deny the fact that it's a really cool watch. I love the orange accents on the dial for the markers and that orange chronograph hand. That black and orange NATO strap is amazing. The best thing of all, though, it comes with a free torch.
Why did I know that was going to be your favourite thing?
I've always got to have some sort of stupid kicker, isn't it? It's not me, though, is it? It's like, I just look at watches and then I go, oh, that's weird. There's always this one more thing that's weird with any watch.
Omega had a focus group and they sat around and they went, you know what, these nerds are getting a lot of money now. We need to do something for the nerds.
Yeah, sure.
So it'll be the Transformers edition next. But do you know what? Yeah, the aesthetics of that watch are absolutely fantastic. That orange, the cream loom, the NATO strap with a stripe. It is one of the nicest looking Speedmasters Omega has ever made.
Yeah, it's a shame there is that kind of moulded Ultraman head in one of the subdials.
But you only see it when you shine the ultraviolet light on it. I mean, I think you can just see the sheen of the print.
Yeah, that's true. I think Omega have actually done quite a good job. Like, it's quite shrewd how they've managed to play down the Ultraman, so you could just enjoy this watch as it is, as a pretty funky looking Speedmaster, and not have to acknowledge Ultraman in any way. But if you do like Ultraman, you know he's there. Because
it wasn't just an arbitrary decision to make an Ultraman version of the Speedmaster. It was the Speedmaster that was worn in Ultraman. Yeah. With that coloration, which was just a very rare iteration. I think it might have been a Japanese-only edition, if I recall.
Right.
And they have added a few subtle nods, because the sub-second running hand, if you notice, is slightly different as well.
Yeah, is that like his sword or something, or his...
Or he has a communicator or something like that.
Yeah. It's something he waves to land aircraft in his day job or something like that.
Yeah, it's his vape pen. That is a good choice. It was a silly choice and you chose it for all the wrong reasons, but I can't acknowledge that it was a bad choice.
I did sort of half choose it to just annoy you, but genuinely I am sort of drawn to things that are a little bit more marginal. The Moon's great.
Yep.
But Ultraman's better.
A very bad point, well made. Do you know what? That would probably definitely come in my top 5 Speedmasters, but for me, it's not the number 1.
No.
Forget your free torch. How about a free red lunchbox to keep your digestive biscuit safe? The Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch Alaska Project.
Oh, yeah. The red biscuit tin.
Did you ever see that one?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, I love it.
The red, heat-proof or cold-proof armour for the Speedmaster.
Do you know the story behind it?
I'm just trying to think of it. It's the one, it's got like canonical flask second hands and things like that, right?
Yeah.
That's the actual watch, yeah.
So stage 2, when the moon landings were in full swing and they were going to start to venture out more into the hotter parts of the moon, and they wanted a watch that could really withstand that, they were going to redesign how the moon watch worked.
How hot does the moon get?
Oh, loads.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's like...
What, like 40 degrees centigrade, the sort of temperature of like a Domino's kitchen on a August afternoon.
Yeah, it's like a McDonald's apple pie when you bite into it.
Right.
It can get from as high as 127 degrees Celsius,
right,
which is blah, 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 Fahrenheit for everyone who doesn't do Celsius. And when the sun goes, it goes down to minus 173 degrees Celsius, which is Fahrenheit for all of you people who don't do Celsius.
Wow. That's very hot, yeah.
Yeah, like, oh God, can you imagine? You'd jumper off, jumper on, jumper off, be a nightmare.
Yeah.
So Omega decided that they would do a watch that could cater for that. And it came with this big old case that acted as an insulator, a big red anodized case. Had a white dial, a white strap, all to try and reflect as much heat as possible to keep it cool. And the actual prototype watch looks quite different to a normal moon watch, but the re-edition that they did has a little bit of a nod to the program as well, with the capsule-shaped hands.
Yeah.
It's got that red second hand. The markers are white as well, and there's just something about it that's just so crisp and bright and very NASA-esque. And it also comes with a really cool NASA strap.
Yeah, same thing as the Ultraman. I think it's like there's just enough there for it to just look cool as it is, but then all the nods is kind of subtle enough. There's meaning behind it as well, which is fun. Yeah,
they're both proper pub watches. Never mind just having the Speedmaster. It's like, oh, what's different about your Speedmaster? Oh, I'll tell you, and then you lose all your friends.
Yeah. But how many unique variations of Speedmaster are there that you could have one on each of a new friend? How many friends would you have then? Hundreds of thousands, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think there are as many variations of Speedmaster as there are limited edition 007 Seamasters.
Yeah.
Which is also a lot. So I think these ones, the two that we're talking about, aren't huge in number and are probably now too expensive for us to purchase anyway.
Yeah. They're in Prince's vault somewhere, never to be seen.
Dear viewer and dear listener, why don't you tell us, as well as what you think of the £81,000 321 canapé, whatever it was. Also, let us know what your favourite Speedmaster is and why. Tell us if you think we're right or if we're wrong. And with that very Speedmaster heavy conversation, we're going to wrap up. I'm going to go and look at the second brightest star in the sky. Canopus, what are you going to do, Tom?
I'm going to look at the second brightest television in my house.
And you're going to watch Ultraman on it?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Please do make sure you subscribe and see you next time.
Bye-bye.